This is Jocko Podcast number 96 with Echo Charles and me, Jocko Willink. Good evening, Echo.
Good evening.
And we are going to roll right into some Q&A from people of the interwebs.
Yes.
Well, they're not actually of the interwebs. They're from around the world.
Everyday life,
Yeah.
but through the interwebs.
Is where we receive questions.
Yeah.
Cool?
Yes. It's been a while, right, since Q&A?
It has been a while since Q&A.
That's cool. All right, well, first question. Recently, at my job, we got a new supervisor, one who happens to be retired Army after 20 years. He and I had a pretty heavy run-in, to which resulted in getting HR involved. The end result was that I would not be written up for what he claimed I was doing. He tried to make an example out of me almost as soon as he got here, assuming I was he assumed I was an easy target. Anyways, to the point. Even though he and I had a falling out, I'd still like to see the guy succeed at his job and become a great leader. After listening to your podcast over the last month, I'm making an effort to improve our relationship at this job instead of just avoiding the man. I've recently purchased your book, Extreme Ownership. How would you suggest I present this book to my new supervisor and read without him feeling as if I'm belittling him, as to say he needs work on his leadership? I think he could benefit from it greatly.
Good question.
Yeah.
It's actually a question I've answered on here before, but I'll answer it again because I even learn when I repeat.
Sure.
This is my latest version of what I tell people when they're in the
Updated?
situation. Yeah, updated version.
Sure.
Because you get better at things. And you figure out better ways to overcome challenges, especially when you're presented with the same challenge over and over again, which I kind of am.
Yeah, man.
Some challenges like this one. Sure. So here's what you do. You give it to them and you say, hey, boss, or hey, person, hey, I got this book and I'm trying to really emulate the principles that are in this book. It really hit me. And I was wondering if I could ask you a favor. If you could just look through this book, kind of see what the principles are, and then if you see me falling out of line with the principles that are in this book, let me know so I can fix them. Basic things like if I'm not taking ownership of problems, if I'm not keeping things simple, if I'm not supporting other people around me, covering and moving for them, just let me know. That's all I'm asking because I'm really trying to do a better job. Could you do that for me? So then the person says, well, yeah, okay, fine, and then they read the book. And when they read the book, sure, there's a chance that they'll be thinking like, oh, this book is about everyone else and it's not about me.
Right?
That's possible. There is also a chance, a higher chance that they read the book and go, oof, I make a lot of excuses and I blame other people all the time. I'm probably not doing a great job as a leader. And that might be subconscious. I see that sometimes now where people are subconsciously making adjustments because they don't want to admit that they're the person that's the problem. They don't want to admit that they're the problem, so they make these little adjustments kind of subconsciously. Yeah. And other people will tell me that the boss is like changing. Oh yeah, they're changing their game. They won't admit it. Right. But they are changing their game. So that's what you hope for, is that they go through that transformation from not taking ownership and treating people bad and not trying to build relationships and all that stuff that makes them into a bad leader, into taking ownership, building relationships, covering, moving, keeping things simple, all the stuff that makes you a good leader. Yeah. That's what the hope is. Now, there's also a chance that this person's going to hold a grudge. Right? We got to deal with that. And I'll tell you, I was recently talking to someone that had stepped on the toes of another division inside their business, another sales division. And salespeople are sort of known for being protective and aggressive, like protective of their territory. Well, this guy kind of stepped into their territory a little bit, caused some bad vibes, giant rift. And he's like, what should I do? I feel like all this animosity now. And it's one of those times where I just said to myself, well, what would I actually do if I was in that situation? How would I try and get this problem solved? Well, what I would do is walk up to the person who I stepped into their territory and caused problems, and I'd say, hey, I wanted to tell you, I totally was out of line when I stepped into your territory. That was completely my fault. And, I was just got target fixation, which is bad. I didn't talk to you, which is bad. I stepped into your world, which is bad. And I left a disaster. And I'm sorry. All that stuff, everything that I just said, all my fault. And I want to let you know that I completely recognize it. And number one, anything I can do to try and redeem that and make it up and make you realize that, and anything I can do to support and help you move forward, I will not let that happen again. I just want to let you know that. So boom, just step up, be humble, apologize, and say, hey, what can I do to help you? What can I do to support you? That's where I would go with this question, and then a sort of an addition to that question.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you give your boss the book, right, and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Is that kind of like when you get like if someone has bad breath and then you put in gum, Yeah. You eat some gum and you say, hey, you want some gum?
Yeah.
Same thing.
That's very similar. You just break out the gum. I always like to do this, just to make sure. I always like to have a piece of gum just to make sure, I'm not offended. Oh, you want one? Yeah, you can have. Yeah. You might want to take two.
Yeah.
Oh, check.
Because you think, you're like, oh, wait. Yeah, shoot. What if I had bad breath? And let me handle this before anyone can smell it.
Check. Oh, that just reminded me because I laughed.
Sure.
It just reminded me of two things I just saw on the interwebs. One was a person that said something negative about the podcast or the book, and he said, "Look, this guy should just smile. He never smiles and anything." And someone, of course, was like, "You might want to listen to his podcast because he laughs a lot." And then someone else said, "This guy should just pick up a guitar. He doesn't know anything about freedom." And someone else got on and said, "He does play guitar." Yeah, cool. Haters, not do a little fact checking with your hate.
Yes,
that's all I'm saying.
If
you want to throw some hate around, just do a little fact checking. Because we're over here laughing.
Yeah.
We're playing the Git box from time to time.
That's what you call it, the Git box?
The Git box.
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Yeah,
by the way.
You got to be old school with that one.
All right, next question. Jocko, do you still respect people without discipline?
Interesting. Okay, so first of all, my baseline as a person is to respect people. Yeah. That's my baseline. Now, that is not the same as something we've talked about before, which is that doesn't mean I expect a lot from them, okay? You see the big difference there?
Yes.
I respect people. Hey, I respect you. I respect what you're doing. That doesn't mean I expect that you're going to be humble or you're going to be hardworking or you're going to be brave or you're going to even be a slightly decent human being. I don't expect any of that. But let me phrase this carefully. That doesn't mean I don't treat them with respect. Now, you notice I just changed this.
Yes.
It's not just about I actually respect you. It's I'm going to treat you with respect. There's a big difference, right?
Yes.
I'm going to treat everyone with respect. But as far as actually respecting someone, no, I'm not just automatically respecting people. Now, I'll treat them with respect because I don't know who they are. I don't know what struggles they've had in their life. I don't know what they've been through. I don't know that, so I'm going to treat them with respect. And it's very similar, like a Jiu Jitsu perspective. You don't know, okay, Jiu Jitsu perspective, no gi, right? Yeah, you don't know how good someone is.
No belt, yeah.
You don't. And this is another thing. When you know how good someone is, and let's say you're better than them, if you really understand Jiu Jitsu, you realize that you're better than them because you've been training longer, fundamentally, right? Of course, are there some people that are just amazing athletes?
Yeah.
Sure. But 98% of the people, you've just been training longer than them.
Yeah.
Or you just were born a lot bigger than them or a lot stronger than them. But you look at them and say, you know what? If we flip this around and this person been training longer, I'd be the one getting crushed.
Right.
So there's that. Now, So yes, I treat people with respect, and my attitude is generally to say, look, I don't know what they've been through, so I'm gonna treat them that way. Now, that being said, when someone just throws away their potential because they lack discipline, that kind of bothers me. I mean, it doesn't mean that I don't respect them, but I am definitely disappointed. And in conditions where there is a gross lack of discipline, just a gross lack of discipline. I do move beyond just mere disappointment, and I do get into the realm of I do not respect that person because they lack discipline. So there you go.
So it's like a respect meter kind of thing, and you're starting at the baseline
kind
of thing?
Yeah, I always start with treating everyone with respect.
Yeah.
I'm going to treat everyone with respect.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who you're disrespecting.
Yeah.
Right? Who are you disrespecting? I mean, you could be disrespecting. First of all, you could be disrespecting someone that is been through a lot that maybe you should learn from. You could be, you're walking down the street and you could disrespect someone that's a psychopath with a gun.
Yeah.
And now you're in a shootout with them. People are getting, you're probably going to win if you train hard. But still,
probably, yeah.
Innocence might be, bystanders. You just don't know you just know who people are.
Yeah.
And that's a good lesson to learn from jiu-jitsu, man. You don't know how good people are. You don't know, not just how well they train, but what have they been through that day in their life.
Yeah.
You meet some people in the wrong day, and that could be really a real problem.
Yeah.
So just be careful. And you know what's funny? I was thinking about this. That being said, my buddy from Scotland, his name is Colin, and he sent me a text the other day, and he was listening to the podcast, and he's a very avid listener of the podcast. And he said, finally, after 94 podcasts, I understand what that being said means. And he's right. He said that being said is basically the verbalization of the dichotomy of leadership and of life and of things and of the world. Because that being said is when you recognize that one side of things is balanced by another side of things.
Yeah.
And it's true in everything there is, right? Like you could say jiu-jitsu is the best martial art. That being said, if someone wrestled in college and they're 262 pounds and you're 145 pounds, it's going to be problematic for you. Yeah. And you could say it about leadership. Yeah. Hey, it's good to be aggressive and assertive. That being said, if you're overly aggressive, no one's going to want to work for you. So it applies across the board. It's those opposing forces. Yep. So I think it's a good tool to use when you think about things. What is the other side of the argument? What is the other side of the situation? Yeah. And knowing and studying the other side will make you understand everything better. Yeah. Yeah. That being said, it can be very difficult to understand anything.
Very hard. And that's life, really, right? So the no expectation, and I know we talked about this before, but you say I don't have any expectations. I have
very low expectations.
So even low expectation, a lot of times people will take that as like you expect low performance out of me, which is different. That's different.
No. Yeah. You're right. You are correct.
So yes. Because that essentially means that you do have expectations. They're just like negative. I expect like low performance out of you. I expect you to do the wrong thing or something like that.
My expectations are low. My hope is high.
Yeah.
I hope that you are a hardworking, very diligent, squared away human being. That's
so technically. So obviously, the difference between expecting poor performance or just having a clean slate, no real expectations, and I'm going to take things the way they come. Obviously, you know the difference there. So what would you call when someone says, I have low expectations of you? Sounds like they expect you to do junk.
Yeah, that does. That sounds bad. I have low expectations.
Right. So when you put your hands up and say, hey, no expectations, okay, that sounds different.
Yeah, right. So I guess my expectations are closer to the no expectations.
Right.
Yeah, I don't expect negativity.
Yes.
But I don't expect much either.
Yeah.
Human beings, I like to set a low bar.
Right. And then let them
be pleasantly
impressed. Yeah. Makes sense. So it's kind of like the expectation or respect and the respect meter is kind of at this cool, acceptable baseline, right? Just fundamental stuff.
Yeah, fundamental stuff.
Don't, whatever. Don't step on my feet on purpose the first time you meet me kind of thing. And then with every little action, big or small, with every experience with that person, the meter either goes up or it goes down. And it depends on the violation or the whatever the element that's going to impress you, right? So let's say someone... It's weird now. You know how we get impressed by like stuff that it seems like you're supposed to do.
Did you just say we? Because are you talking about me too?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know. That's a total assumption, but okay. Are you impressed with people who keep their word?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
That's an example. So you're supposed to keep your word. That's what your word is. You keep it, you know? That's kind of what the whole defining characteristic of
So you're saying
word is.
you're saying some other person might say, "Well, I just expect people to
Right.
keep their
You're
word."
supposed to do that. You know, remember like how Chris Rock on his little stand-up thing, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, people want like credit for stuff you're supposed to do." Like he's like, "I take care of my kids." It's like, "Yeah, you're supposed to take care of your kids," you know? Kind of thing. But when you think about it, are you impressed with someone who takes good care of their kids? You kind of are, right?
Yeah.
But that's not to say you expect them not to, though.
Right.
Really, it's
you
weird.
You just have what I'm saying, which is close leaning towards no expectations.
Yes, and then when you experience it,
There you
you
go.
kind of
That's
fall
nice.
on one side of it, you know,
Person's-
whether it be
yeah,
like, yes,
person's cool.
that makes me happy. It makes me happy that you're doing what you're supposed to do. That's what it is right there, right?
Pretty much.
Like when you showed up today, I was happy.
Wait,
You
mean
were
when
ahead of
showed
time.
up?
Well, yeah. When I showed up and
Yeah.
saw you here,
Yeah.
I was happy you were here.
Yeah, that's
but
good.
you're supposed to be here. We agreed we were going to be here.
Right.
Right. But
And
I
so
was
you-
happy.
Well, that's cool, I guess.
What I
Maybe
wasn't.
you were just stoked to see me.
But yeah. I wasn't impressed, but I was happy.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it.
I
Anyway,
don't even know what you're getting the bottom to, but maybe we could do another question.
just your expectations and respect. You know, really the whole the meticulous and specific dynamics of that. That's what we're going for there.
Okay.
I think. Anyway, next question. Cool.
Yeah, real cool.
Jocko, what do I do when one of my teammates isn't really pulling their weight? They used to be pretty good, but things have gone downhill. How can I get them to fix themselves? It is extra tricky because he's a friend of mine.
Okay. Well, you got your teammate / friend that's not pulling their weight, and how do you get them back in the game? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to help them. I'm going to take some weight off of their shoulders. I'm gonna actually step in and say, "Oh yeah, hey Echo, you know you got that project we're working on, and you know that little assignment you got. Hey, I gotta stay at the office a little bit late tonight, anyways. I'm gonna just give that to me. I'll just hammer it out tonight. I'm gonna be here anyways because I gotta pick up my kids late from school. Is that cool? Just take a little weight off.
Sure.
Just do what you can. You know, maybe just carry some. How do you know what that person's got going on at home?
Yeah.
Right? What are you gonna jump right down their throat and get all in their face?
Make it worse.
And get things worse when actually that person has a sick kid or has a problem with their husband or wife or whatever, and now we're getting in their face and getting in their grill about it?
Yeah.
No, I'm just going to lean in and give them a hand.
Yeah.
That seems like what a good teammate would do, especially if the person's your friend. So get in there, and hopefully they'll say, hey, thanks. You know what? I got this problem at home, or thanks, I got this health issue going on. I do. Hey, no problem. And guess what? We just built a little relationship. We bonded a little bit tighter.
Yep.
We were friends. Now we're even a little bit tighter friends.
Yeah.
So that's a positive thing. Now, there's also a chance, of course, that, well, and to continue down that story, eventually they get healthy or they solve the problem at home and they get back in the game, and then we're all good. And guess who the next person that might need a little assistance? It might be you. You might be the one with a problem, with a health issue, with a sick family member or whatever. And you're the one that might have to lean on them. You want them to get in your face and start yelling at you about pulling your weight? Mm-hmm. Or do you just want them to say, hey, I got some capacity right now. Let me help you out.
Yeah.
Right? It's so clear how you want to handle that. Number one, you just want to take some ownership of what's going on. Mm. Now, there's also the chance that once they've come back or that you help them out and they like start looking at you and saying, oh, you know, Jocko's just going to do all my work for me. Mm. Jocko's just going to, I can just lean on him. He's just going to do everything. Oh, I gave him one task. I'll let him do this other task that I've been assigned. I'll let him do another task that I've been assigned. And if people start giving me their work to do, good. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do their work.
Yeah.
I'm going to do their work. And if they want me to do all their work, I'll do all their work, and eventually they won't have a job anymore. Mm. And then I'll take their job. And then I'll get promoted and I'll hire more people that are going to do the right thing and get after it, right? So that's okay. When somebody wants to put themselves on report for being lazy by allowing you to do their work for them, allow them to fill out that report in full detail. And and the other thing is, so then do you jump up and down and say, look, I'm doing Echo's job. Look, I'm doing no. You don't do that. You don't do that. You don't need to do that. You may want to do it because you feel like you need to do it, but you don't.
Sure.
The recognition will come. You just need to be patient. Of course, on top of all this, there is some indirect coaching that you can do to try and get them up to speed, you know, as opposed to saying, you're screwed up, Echo. Instead, you say, hey, Echo, I got some extra capacity with what's going on. Is there anything I can do to help you out? You know, is there any support that you need? Because I know you're this part of the task is a little bit bigger than mine. And so, you know, is there anything I can do to help you get the job done? Do you need any support from me? Because I'm actually elevating you a little bit by saying your task is harder and more challenging and bigger and more important. Or you can also say, hey, is there anything we need from the boss to help us down here? Is there any support that we should get from up the chain of command? Because I think if we go with a unified front, we could get some help. I'm actually feeling pretty good about my area of responsibilities, but are you feeling good about yours? Because if not, maybe you need some more support. We could get it from you if we go to the boss as a unified front and make it happen. And then you say, oh, yeah, well, you know what? I got this and I need another person or I need some more man hours or whatever the case may be. Yeah. We get you moving in the right direction. And that's it.
What if they're just slacking?
They're just slacking. Cool. Let them slack.
Same thing.
Yeah, let them slack. There's also a thing where a lot of times when I come and take your work from you, if you're not just a turd, you'll be like, hey, you know, Jocko, you did this last week. I got it, man. It's no problem.
That's true.
You as a human being will feel like you're not carrying the weight for the tribe. Yeah. And when human beings feel like they're not carrying the weight for the tribe, they want to help. Yeah. They feel like they're not going to get their piece of meat, right? Yeah. So they want to help out. Yeah. You ever seen that? You know, that's what your mom used to do to you when you were a kid. They'd just be cleaning you something. And you feel like, okay, I need to help. Yeah,
100%. Yes.
Or you'll see, you know,
your wife.
My wife will do that to you.
Yeah, she'll do that to me all the time. Actually, every single time. So, you know how, like, you know, I don't know, Saturday comes, you know. We don't have any plans on Saturday. So I'm cruising, and my wife starts taking on this kind of big cleaning project, the garage. Whatever. I don't know. Garage in my case. And then she'll kind of walk and she'll be like, hey, you know.
What do you want me to do with this thing that I found in the back corner of the garage? What do you want me to do with this? And then 3 minutes later, she's back. Well, what do you want me to do with this thing?
Yeah. Well, no. Well, yeah, of course, that happens all the time. But as far as the example for this, the comparison is she'll be like, hey, can you clean out this whole thing right here? And I'll be like, oh, yeah. You know, like I didn't really plan on that whole big project right now. So, you know, maybe I'm kind of doing this unimportant thing or whatever. I'll be like, yeah, I'll do it in a few minutes. But then I'll see her doing it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And then
doing my work. I'm like, all right, I got to do it. I can't let her do my job because it's kind of my job now.
Yeah. Well, one time my wife on the opposite end of the spectrum, we were planning to redo my backyard a little bit. Sure. And we were going to put in like a 5-foot retaining wall with, you know, concrete block and dig a foundation and all that. And then backfill the soil to fill it up to the level of the 5-foot retaining wall. And so I kind of talked about my wife with, you know, I was going to, you know, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to build this retaining wall. We'll put some steps here. It'll be good. We can backfill. We'll have a level yard. It'll be really nice. And so then like on a Sunday at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, she's like, well, why don't you build that retaining wall today? And I was like, you know, it's a little late in the day for me to start that project right now.
Why? You got to get it all done.
Because this was like a 9-day project. Yeah. That's why.
Oh, she wanted you to build it right then and there.
Hey, what are you doing this afternoon? If you're not doing anything, how about you build a 5-foot concrete block retaining wall over here with drainage and then backfill and put sod down? That sounds like something you could do in the afternoon.
Yeah. Hurry up.
Unless you're weak.
Next question. Like I'm not talking that good into my microphone. Whichever. Jocko, I'm a high school teacher. I consider myself the leader in the classroom. How do I demonstrate extreme ownership in the classroom? For example, one of my students misbehaves. How do I take extreme ownership of their behavior?
Okay, one way to do this, and I do this with my kids. I did it with my platoon guys back in the day. do it with Jiu Jitsu kids, whoever. And what you do is you do exactly what you're saying you want to do, which is you take ownership. So what that means is you take ownership of their behavior. So when the kid's misbehaving, you say, hey, what am I not making clear to you that you continue to act like this? Because obviously I must be doing something wrong because I'm the teacher and you're in here acting like an idiot and disrupting everything. What am I not doing well? How could I convey this message to you that you shouldn't act like that? And not only that, but how can I better make you understand that what you do right now is going to affect and impact the rest of your whole life? Because I'm supposed to convey that to you as a person, that if you get engaged in class, you're going to have a more successful and better life. And that's what my kind of goal is. And so what I want to know is how I can better explain to you that your behavior while you're in here, from classroom attendance to having big outbursts to skipping class to not turning in your homework to failing tests, all those behaviors that you kind of display on a regular basis, I need to find a better way to explain to you that the way you are acting right now will absolutely dictate where you're going to be in the future. And by the way, it's not a positive thing. It's not a positive thing at all. Your life is going in the wrong direction. And as a teacher, I'm supposed to move it in the right direction. So what do you think I could do better to help you understand that? So there we go. That's one method. And by the way, I've used that with my kids too. That's a very effective method for parenting. Isn't why did you not clean your room? It's how did I fail as a father to make you understand that basic fundamental hygiene is a positive thing. Mm-hmm. Where did I fail? And that's actually, the cleaning room example isn't a great one, but when it's something a little bit more severe than that, something like when they really do something that's outside the lines, right? Mm-hmm. And you say, instead of saying, you went outside the lines, you're messed up, instead you say, I'm sorry that I couldn't convey to you the importance of these lines and why we don't go out them. And now I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, I don't know what mistakes I made, and I let you down as a father, because clearly you don't understand the boundaries of what is good and what is bad, and I feel like I let you down. And that, for my kids, provokes a better reaction than that you screwed up.
Yeah. You screwed up.
Now, going on, the other thing you can do here is you can explain how their behavior affects and impacts everyone else in the class. And that you, as the teacher, is not only responsible for their behavior, which you are, but you're also responsible for teaching every single person in the class. And that you own that. You own the education of these other kids, and that you're not going to let one kid destroy the experience for everyone else, because that is not fair and you will not do it. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to let you come in here and impact all these other kids with your negativity and your bad behavior. These kids are here to learn. They actually want to do something with their lives. They want to take over and dominate. They want to win. And I'm looking at you and I think you must want to lose, because that's where you're heading. That's what you want to do, is lose in life. Because these other kids, they want to win. So I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to let them lose because you want to lose. If you want to lose, you can go do it on your own time in the principal's office. And then maybe you have to kick them out of class. Maybe you have to suspend them or whatever. And I think that then you have to let people understand that just like you take ownership, they should take ownership of their lives, right? That's a fundamental thing that you're getting at. And lastly, and this is something that I think is very hard for young kids to understand. Young kids meaning the ages between like 15 and 20.
25.
Maybe even 25. Some kids get it earlier, Some kids understand it earlier. But understanding this thread of this thread of the passage of your life, and that the way that you act right now affects the where you're going to be in a week, in a month, a year, in 5 years, and in 10 years. And kids do not understand that. They do not understand it. I didn't understand it when I was 10, 12, 15, 18, 30. You know what I mean? Like, well, I think actually one of the best things for me is that when you join the military, they show you that thread, and it's very clear. They're like, hey, you do this and you get promoted. You do this and you get advanced. You get this and you get your paycheck. You get this. Oh, and you do this other thing, you don't get a paycheck. You didn't do this other thing, you go to the brig.
Yeah.
You do this other thing and you won't make it through SEAL training.
Yeah.
So, that was for me. I shouldn't have said get promoted, because for me it was get to SEAL training and get through SEAL training. I didn't care about getting promoted. I never did. But to get, when I was 18 years old, to get to SEAL training and to get through SEAL training, that was a crystal clear path for me. And I saw it, and as soon as I saw it, I said, okay, I will not veer off that path. What they tell me to do, I'll do. Now, there's nothing that's that solid for a civilian, right? For a civilian to say, okay, if you do this right now, you're going to get into this college.
Yeah.
If you get into this college and you get these kind of grades, you're going to get this kind of job. There's no real clear path like that. And so it's harder to draw that thread for people. But I think you can do it. I think you can show examples of where you end up in the societal structure based on your behavior as a teenage person, a teenage human.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be hard. Just straight up, that's just going to be hard for a teacher because of the time constraints like that, or the time limitations you have with the kid.
Yeah, I think one thing that I've done with my kids is I look at other human beings in the world with them, and I explain to them that that's a person. That's a person. I was talking about this with my son. It left such an impact on him. Yesterday, we were down at the beach early morning one time. Years ago, he was probably 8 years old. We were going surfing. Waves were good, by the way. It was a big day.
Hell yeah.
We got done. And so now it's 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. And there's a guy that's a obvious drug-induced state of mayhem. And he's got 5 cops, and they get him down. And we're watching this whole thing, and he's yelling, swearing. And they put a spit bag on his head. So he's just full on crazy. And, my son's saying, what is that, Dad? It's like, oh, that's a spit bag so that this guy doesn't spit on these police officers that are down here doing their job. And, I said, this is what happens when you go on drugs. This is where you end up. You end up with no shirt on, one shoe, ripped jeans. You have a spit bag on your head. You're handcuffed. And you're going to jail. That's where you end up. That's where the path leads. So don't do those things. Don't start down that path. And it's the same thing, I was with my daughter, and we saw, what did we see? I was pointing out to her again, a woman that clearly didn't have a place to live. She was a homeless person. And walking with my daughter, and we see the woman with the shopping cart, and it's filled with, stuff, crap and sleeping bags and cans and whatever, clearly a homeless person. But what was weird, and the reason I specifically point out, was because she looked somewhat normal, and yet you could tell that she was not doing well. And so, I said to my daughter, I said, what do you think of that person? And she says, I don't know. What do you mean? And I said, well, do you think that person wants to be there? And she said, well, no. And I said, well, how do you think she ended up there? And she said, I don't know. And I said, I don't know either. But that's a real person. And when she goes to bed tonight, she's going to be underneath a bridge somewhere. She's going to be cold. She's going to be wet. She's going to be miserable. And that's her life. That's where she ended up. So some choices that she made along the way may have contributed to that. And what I'm saying to you is make choices that will contribute to you not ending up in that position. Because those people that you see that are homeless, that are addicted to drugs, those people are actually people. And it's very easy to view them as, oh, I can never be there. They're not, they're a different species than me. They're not. I guess that's the point of my story, is that it's really easy for people to look at other people and think I could never be there. That could not happen to me.
Yeah.
And my point to my kids is, oh yes, it can.
Yeah.
If you make the wrong choices. Hey, you know what? It could be bad luck. Sure, it could be bad luck. It can be bad luck. But most of the time, the vast majority of the time, it's decision making. Bad decision making gets you in bad situations. And by the way, people that go off the path and then they say, you know what, I screwed up. I did the wrong thing and I'm going to now fix it. You don't see people like that are homeless. You don't see people like that are addicted to drugs, because they take responsibility and they say, okay, I made this mistake. I didn't do the right things. I need to get fixed. And they fix it. Whereas someone that says, oh, it's my parents' fault and it's my boyfriend's fault and it's my girlfriend's fault and it's my old boss's fault and it's my pusher's fault and whoever you want to blame. If it's not your fault, you don't fix the problem. You don't take ownership of the problem. You don't fix it on a personal level, and that's problematic.
Yeah. Your parents were teachers, huh?
Yes, both teachers.
Yeah. Makes sense. There's a lot of. It seems like there's a lot of similarities with teachers and then parents, right? Because it's both like you're both trying to guide these young minds.
True.
Oh, by the way, kids, teenagers, whatever. Yeah, they can't really have. You say they don't understand the correlation between like their actions now and whatever. Right. They kind of can't, because that part of their brain isn't developed yet. It's the front part, frontal, whatever.
What's called the front part? That sounds technical.
The front part. I think it's a medical term, but it tends to, on average or whatever, develop by age 25. That's why I said 25.
Okay.
So that's typically, give or take when it's done developing. So yeah, before that, and it's basically the decision making, like, okay, what you said, what I do now affects the future. And you know how like now you're like, oh, when you do something, you can almost feel the payoff in the future. It's almost like that. Yes. You understand it now. Back then you couldn't. That's why these colleges, when you go to college at 18 or 17 in my case, they all these little credit card pushers, they'll just post up outside of your dorm room and be like, hey, in unsecured, I don't even know what unsecured means, by the way, at this time, $300 limit, just credits, free money, it's free money. That's how they do. All you got to do is fill out this thing. And everyone, of course, I don't know what that means. I'll pay it back way later. So they get you like that. But nonetheless, so they don't have that part of their brain. They don't know.
Yeah.
So the answer is, and I'm kind of drawing from my childhood. So I had these two teachers, right? One teacher, his name was Mr. Tokita, Japanese guy. Mm-hmm. And he was like a little samurai ninja guy. Mm-hmm. Didn't really talk that much, like outside of the classroom. And when he'd talk in the classroom, it was all deliberate stuff. There was no small talk. It was really rigid. We had a quiz every single Friday. 10 questions. Real short quiz about the week stuff. Mm-hmm. His little lecture on the board was like boom, 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 boom. I think he'd even underline the key points, so you'd know. Mm-hmm. There was no like, hey, read this and I'm going to test you on
mystery.
It. No mystery. This is what you're going to be tested. He underlined the key points, and you got to know those key points at the end of the week. Test every week. Boom, you take, or quiz. It's a quiz. Then there's a test on all the stuff, whatever. But you were not ill-equipped for these tests. You knew. As long as you were showing up, paying attention, you knew. So either you did it or you didn't do it, So it was, and there was no like, hey guys, nothing like you knew what to expect. This guy was so consistent with every little thing, all the way down to the point that, like, if you call him Tokita, because sometimes that's how when you get real chummy with the teachers, just in general, if you're that kind of person, you won't say Mr. or Mrs. Right? So every once in a while you'd be like, hey, I don't know, Smith. We'll just say if the teacher's name was Mrs. Smith. He'd be like, hey, Smith. And, it's a kind of chummy relationship. So one time, I forget who it was. Might have been this girl, Cressy. Anyway, she goes, oh, Tokita, because she liked him. And he was a likable guy. That's the thing. But just really consistent and rigid, like a ninja or something. And they were like, hey, Tokita, and asked a question. And he didn't get mad. Nothing like that. He just answers real stoic. Just answers the question. And as he's shuffling his papers like this, just real, like, this guy was so cold as ice guy. He goes like this, boom, he answers the question, and he goes, and that's Mr. Choquita. And then he just continues on, right? And everyone's like, dang, that was fucking awesome. But anyway, I did the best in that class because it was one of those things that it was so consistent. Like there was no room for slack. If you slacked off, it was really apparent.
Discipline equals freedom.
Yeah, but he wasn't the kind, like, he wouldn't yell at you. It wasn't that.
I don't yell.
Yeah. So
discipline equals freedom. You don't need to yell when people understand expectations. You don't need to yell.
And the thing, and you're like this too, where you're real consistent. That's the thing too. Because how sometimes, let's say you're real rigid one week and then the next week.
Oh yeah, that's bad.
Or let's say you're really rigid like the whole year, and then I don't know, you're feeling, I don't know, you're hungover or something. I don't know, you partied or something. You come to class as the teacher, by the way, and then you're not as rigid that day. Ooh, there's the little chink in your armor there, and they'll kind of start to exploit it. These kids, which brings me to my second teacher. I'm not gonna say his name. He was in 7th grade though. Where this guy was just all over the place. Super easy to take advantage of this guy who's a music teacher. Wait, was he a music teacher? Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I forget. But super easy to take advantage of this guy. The kind like he'd lose his cool all the time. And, it was just funny to see him react a lot of the time, right? And the thing is, he didn't start like that. He started just super nice. Just like, hey, the kind like people would run over him and he'd be like, hey, we don't have to. He was just super nice, but he wasn't consistent with anything. Then after a while, I think it was after like a few years, I hear that he's like really mean now. Yeah. Like he loses his temper all the time. Yeah. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
It goes back to just discipline equals freedom, right? Yeah. And if you would have held the line in the beginning and said, no, you don't act like that in here, stop. Then if you would have stopped at the minimal or at this small action that was bad, this small bad behavior, if he tightened that up, then it would never get to bid. Then he doesn't have to lose his temper and get crazy. Yeah. And I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he's a positive guy, and he had the highest hopes and expectations. Going back to the earlier subject, like. He had the really high hopes that everyone's just going to be in here to learn and open their minds. And it's like, no, these kids are in here to shoot spitballs and stick pencils into the back of the person sitting in front of them. Right? That's sort of it.
Exactly, yeah.
That's sort of it. And when you realize that, then you don't allow that minimal behavior, and then they just don't get totally out of control.
Yeah. Man, that's
hard work being a teacher.
Very much so. Very much so. Because again, because it goes back to that thing, man, where you only have an hour or something with the
45
kid
minutes,
day.
man.
Yeah, in a day. Yeah. And that's only for 5 days maximum for the week. Sometimes less, if you got holidays or whatever. And then they go home or wherever, and then they get their influences, boom, boom, as they grow up. Then they come back to your class with all that influence. And it's like, what now, And you got to kind of find a way as a teacher, not only to get through to them just person to person, but you got to get them all this material. And if they don't like that material, oh man, that's yet another task, So again, man, if you have that structure in place and it's consistent and they know what to expect, that's going to help because they have this scaffolding. They don't know how to make decisions.
I got asked one time by a teacher. It's kind of a similar question. I've done everything to get through to this person. They're just not getting in the game. What do I do now? And I was like, well, try a different way. Try a different way. You didn't get through to them that way. Try it a different way. Mm-hmm. How can you get through to them? Now, just like as a boss, as a leader, as a platoon commander, if you've tried every single possible different way and you've got someone that just cannot do it or does not want to do it and they're negatively affecting everyone else, then it's your responsibility as a leader to get rid of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Get rid of them. And had another conversation with a teacher one time who had kicked someone out of her school for fighting. And this person's a great person and a friend of mine. She kicked someone out of the school, and we met at a dinner, and we were just talking, and I said, oh, how's everything going? She goes, well, I just kicked this person out of school. And I was like, oh, what's the situation? And she said, well, it's this kid, and he's been a good kid. He doesn't come from a great home, but he got into a fight and he hit another kid. And I just we can't have that at school at all. And so me being a jerk, I was like, oh, so you just destroyed his life, basically. And she's like, what do you mean? I go, well, if the kid doesn't have much of a home and he's not coming from a great family, the only thing he has is your school. And if you don't allow him in school, now you kicked him out, where's he going to end up? I go, did you already open up a space for him in prison somewhere? Because that's where he's heading. And I was being a total jerk, but I didn't really realize that until I saw her like getting emotional. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And so then we had the conversation. And what was great was we talked and we went through this conversation, and because what I was saying, even though I was being a jerk about it, even though I was being kind of, I don't know, I wasn't being sarcastic, I was just being really offensive because she's a friend, and that's just how I am.
Like one of your SEAL team buddies.
Yeah, exactly. Treating her like another SEAL. But then we talked and I said, look, but even though I don't mean to be a jerk, I'm telling like what I believe to be the truth.
Cracking but
you have a great school, you have this great opportunity for these kids, and this kid who has been well behaved was, and this was the other critical part, the kid that he got in a fight with, the kid that he punched, he sucker punched the guy, not sucker punch, but through the first punch. The other kid was the class jerk, the class picking on people and always misbehaving. That kid didn't get kicked out of the school. He wasn't going to get kicked out of the school because he didn't actually get involved in the physical violence.
Yeah.
And so then, and I told her that too. I said, look, you got one kid that he finally broke mentally, and you got another kid that just knows how to push people's buttons, and he wanted him to hit him. And now you're kicking the kid out that actually probably should have done what he did. That kid probably deserved to get punched in the face. Yep. And anyways, after this long conversation, she went back, and the other key little thing that we talked about was I said, it's okay for you as the leader to say, hey, look, I made a mistake. You know what? I'm not kicking him out of the school. You know why? Because this other kid acted like a jerk. This other kid harassed him. This other kid did these other kid things. And this child has been a well-behaved child, and he lost his temper, and that's human, and we're going to keep him in the school. And she did that. So my point is it's a hard job.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's my point.
Big time. Man, and that's yet another thing that I think we got to balance this in regular society too. But it's so this kid, right? For example, your example where the kid punched the guy. So boom, we have this incident. So what do you do though, right? It's like that's a problem. As far as problem solving goes, you don't punish the kid. You evaluate what happened, and then you essentially help the kid so he doesn't punch anyone.
Right.
Like some people, they're like, hey, we got to punch this kid somehow, give him detention or something. Right. And does that solve the problem?
Maybe we actually teach someone to control their emotions.
Exactly right. Like, why'd you punch him? Oh, because this guy did this. Okay, there's another problem, by the way. So we got to teach this kid to stop messing around in that way, and then we got to teach this kid, okay, if you get messed around.
You're right. And sometimes the only way some kids learn a lesson is by being severely punished, kicked out of a school, whatever, expelled or something like that. Yes. But most cases, what does that really teach them? That school doesn't care about them, right? So 100%. That's a tough situation. Interestingly, in Way of the Warrior Kid, the next book that's coming out,
sure,
the whole... And I'm not going to give the whole story away, but the opening chapter, young Mark is in the principal's office. And he's in the principal's office because he threw a papier-mâché pumpkin at another kid's head. Yep. Why did he do it? Because he was frustrated, because he got mad, because the kid was picking on him continually, verbalizing verbal abuse. And finally, Mark just got mad, and he hucked a papier-mâché pumpkin at the kid's head. It bounced off the kid's head and hit Miss Carpenter right in the face too. So he got sent to the office. But anyways, but the point is the reason I did that is because kids that are 11 years old, they still lose their temper. They haven't learned to control their temper yet. And so one of the themes in the new Warrior Kid book is that a warrior has to learn to control their temper and control their emotions. Yeah. The lessons that we're talking about right now. Yeah. Interestingly enough. So thanks to the teachers out there.
Big time, man. Because, man, as a teacher, and I have never been a teacher, obviously, but I mean, just even halfway imagining it, man, you kind of care about like these kids, but you care about them all. So, and then you have all the whole spectrum of them. You have the kid who's like, ooh, the teacher's pet, as far as the other kids are concerned. But meanwhile, you love that kid because, man, he's picking up what you're putting down and he's listening. He's giving you apples and whatnot. Then you have on the other side, you have the one that won't listen to anything, disrupting your class, you know. But you want that kid, like, of course, you want to leave you, like, stop messing up my whole thing.
But you want them to be successful.
Yeah, man, because like when you know how you teach someone something and you see them use it. Oh man, that's the best. As any kind of teaching capacity that, you know, as far as the role that you play, like in Jiu Jitsu or something like that, even like another adult, because it's all the same, right? Actually, I think kids.
There's a fundamental human characteristic, I believe, that makes you want to help other people.
Yeah,
Feels
it's
good.
like your
Feels good,
influence, like living on or something.
Yeah, something like
I
that.
don't know,
maybe.
But man, so it's like, that's yet another thing you got to deal with as a teacher, you know, because you're committed, man. It's like, it's crazy to tell. Anyway.
Next question.
I'm a firefighter. Speaking of which, I'm a firefighter in Australia. And in the time I've been in this job, I've been in several jobs that were very challenging. I've entered burning homes to extinguish fires and search for residents and their pets. I've searched for victims during times of flood and helped people evacuate their homes in times of natural disasters. I've attended car crashes and cut victims from vehicles and pulled deceased people from others. I also know that I'm not alone. I am aware of the fact that while I've been doing this, countless firefighters around the globe who are thousands of times braver than me and have done things that the vast majority of the population would not be capable of, and that doesn't even acknowledge the courage of our police and paramedics and our military who step up day after day to do what has to be done because of, if not me, then who? My question is this. How do you suggest those in the front line deal with the trivial issues at home? I attended a very severe car accident, a head-on collision with a school bus full of children and another car. Thankfully, all the children in the school bus were okay, but it took us 3 hours to cut the driver from the car, and she had very serious injuries and was airlifted to a hospital. When I got home that night, I was confronted by an upset girlfriend who wanted to talk about some extraordinarily trivial issue, which I struggled to listen to. The whole time she was talking, I just kept thinking about the job and making sure I'd done everything I possibly could have for the driver. But I was also aware of the fact that my fiance's problems are important to her, so I need to be supportive. I listened for as long as I could. Then, unfortunately, I just said, your day could have been a lot worse. No one spent 3 hours cutting you out of a car, so be thankful. I know I can't be alone on this. I know police, paramedics, and the military would be suffering the same thing. How do you suggest is the best way to deal with this?
Check. So it was always my goal to protect my family from darkness and evil in the world. That includes these kind of things. You want to shield them from this. Now, this doesn't mean to keep them oblivious. You don't want them thinking that the world that you've created for them, that's well protected and secure, you don't want them thinking that that's the way the whole world is. You don't want them thinking that. But I sure didn't throw this kind of stuff at my family on a regular basis. But I took pride, and I think that that's the answer here. Take pride in letting your family or your loved ones live in worlds where their trivial issues are the most important thing in their world, the most impactful thing in the world for them. Okay, so that's number one. And if you get yourself a little bit of satisfaction every time your significant other complains that the ice machine isn't really working up to full speed, it's really horrible. Mm-hmm. Right? You should be proud. Think to yourself, yeah, well, you know what? Let me take a look at it. Yeah. Maybe there's a kink in the water line. I don't know, but we'll try and get that thing up to speed so you can have cold drinks. Because that's where I want your world to be, right? I want you to have plenty of ice. Yeah. So for your drinks or whatever. So that's it. If you can put your family in that kind of a protected environment, you should be proud of it. And the way they indicate that to you, they don't say, "Hey, thank you for letting me live in a protected environment." They don't say that to you. They're in the environment. They don't even know that they're in it. Yeah. The way they let you know that they're in that environment is when they complain about trivial things. Yeah. So that's number one. The other thing is try and see things from other people's perspectives. You know, in this case, my wife's, right? My wife would say things as a big deal to her, and for her, it was a big deal. And like I just said, I wanted it to be a big deal for her. And also, I'll tell you what, we're talking about firefighters and military and police, but this goes to other non-uniformed jobs as well. If you can leave your work at work, because you think every job, there's stresses at every job, and you're out there grinding and you're in trouble with the boss, or you're trying to get a project figured out, and you've got all this stress coming down on you, or you've lost money, or you've got a huge deal on the table, whatever the case may be. If you can isolate your family from that as much as you can, and I'm not saying to an unhealthy level where you're just not telling them what's going on, but bear the burden. Man, bear the burden of that you hold to protect your family. So yeah, that's what I think. We do our best to protect our family and our loved ones from the darkness, the pressure, the stress, the evil in the world. Again, you don't make them oblivious. You don't disconnect from them in order to do that, but you shield them from it, and you bear the burden yourself so that they don't have to bear it as much. Again, you don't want your kids growing up to be spoiled. You don't want your wife to be saying, if I don't get a latte this morning, I will absolutely not even. Right? You don't want to be married to that person. Yeah, not even. Yeah. I did that pretty good, didn't I? My middle daughter is like the funniest person ever, and she can do all these crazy. I'm stealing her material right there, because she'll do that. She'll say, "That is so. Oh my God, it's not even." And she's kidding, because she knows that there's human beings like that in the world that say "not even." There's nothing at the end of it.
Yeah,
I've never heard sentences.
That. I think that might be something new. That's not even. I've heard I can't even.
Well,
I can't even.
Oh, it's the same thing.
Same thing. Yeah. Some updated new age stuff.
Just a different angle on it. But yeah, hey, thanks for doing all that hard work, man. That's awesome. I know I see firefighters, police officers, military people all the time. I hear from all the time. And yeah, try and shield your family as much as you can. Don't drag them down into the darkness with you.
Yeah, it seems like a good way.
And take pride in it.
That's what I was exactly what I was gonna say. It's like take pride in. It's like embracing the role as like the captain kind of thing. Yeah. Where it's like, wife's mad about they put cream in her coffee and she asked for non-fat milk. That's from Seinfeld, by the way. And whatever, and she's pissed. And meanwhile, you just pulled a lady out for 3 hours. By the way, bus and car crash, head-on collision. So it's, you embrace the role. It's like, okay, boom, I'm dealing, 1 second I'm dealing with straight up life and death and kids and accidents and tragedy. And then 1 second later, I'm dealing with essentially nothing, right? But it's my wife's feelings. That's what I'm dealing with. My wife's feeling. I'm not dealing with non-fat milk versus cream. I'm not dealing with that. I'm dealing with my wife's feelings. And that's part of the job too. So you can't just be like, hey, I'm going to do my job. 1 second, I'm going to do my job really good. And the next second, I'm not going to do it so good. You can't do that. Embrace the role as the guy who gets the job done, regardless of how big, how small. So as a husband, this is where I can speak from, because I've been a husband for 8 years. Successfully, because I'm currently a husband too. So there'd be, how like people have little things.
I'll have to check with her on
please
on
check
how actually successful
check for
you
me
are.
too, because I need that info too. Anyway, but so how people they'll tell you something and then you'll be like, wait, what did you mean by that? You're kind of offended. Like, are you kind of digging at me or something like that? Like that kind of stuff. Even though kind of they were, right? Like that was a little passive aggressive little comment kind of thing. So every once in a while when I'd experience that, not to say it happens all the time, but if it ever happens, what I do to kind of combat that anger. Because, bro, I'm the kind where, like, if there's, like, a
So
issue,
you're saying passive-aggressive from your wife?
Yes.
And what you would do to combat the anger would be?
Would be...
I'm trying to move this story along.
Embracing... No, it's relevant to this, though, and important. I think it helps. It totally helps. Where I embrace the role of the I don't know, for lack of better, the captain, Embrace the role of captain. Where, sure, she's passive-aggressive, whatever. Maybe over time I'll start to understand more or whatever. But, so I envision myself as Superman, and her passive aggressive comments are bullets, and they're just bouncing off of me just like bullets off Superman.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool until the fact that if you don't react, then she's going to escalate. She wants some kind of reaction out of you.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to give them some kind of reaction.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'll continue to escalate.
Right.
To a point where you do react.
Yes. Yeah.
So I learned that a while ago.
Yeah.
No reaction is not always good.
Right. So I don't.
You gotta say the bullet hits you, and you gotta say, oh, that bullet hurt. Oh, yeah, I should be a little more careful when the bullets are flying around. Wow. I need to be a little bit more, careful of these bullets. They can really hurt me.
Right.
Gotta be careful.
But see how your tone and stuff is like. There's no anger there.
Yeah.
But so that's what I meant. I meant it's just to combat the anger, not the problem solving thing. That's a whole nother thing as far as I'm concerned. Like if she's passive aggressive or mad about, I don't know, because I put the dish away when it was wet and before I dried it or what. That's not what it was, by the way. But I'm just saying if it's just that's a whole different thing. So if I anger-wise, the bullets bounce off of me, boom, I don't get angry, then I can start addressing those issues, the ones that you're talking about. But I mean to combat the straight-up anger.
Yeah, keep your emotions in check.
Yeah.
Stifle them.
Like her insults are bouncing off of me like Superman. It helps sometimes. Most of the time. All right, next question. Jocko, I'm leading a project that involves a few of my team members and about 10 other team members from other functions. The project has high visibility in the large organization, over $10 billion in revenue, that I work for, so the pressure to execute is high. We have had some issues with cross-functional team members meeting their deliverables and to keep the project on path. But we're pushing, sometimes dragging everyone along to make things happen. Recently, on a formal review with the leadership team, the question was asked, why is this project behind? I'm a firm believer in providing protection for your team, so my response was, there are excuses, but to be honest, they're just excuses. So we're doing everything we can to get it back on track. Trying to take the brunt of the performance miss on my shoulders. No additional comments were made in that meeting, and it ended. My boss was on the call and pulled me aside the next day and voiced his opinion that I should not hesitate to call out the lack of performance on the other functional team members. His thought is that doing so does not allow the leadership to coach, mentor, and or fix the issues correctly. I understand this logic, but I don't feel that true leaders point fingers or throw others under the bus. Your thoughts would be appreciated.
Okay, so first of all, your boss has a little bit of a point, but it's also, there's some limitations to it. Number one, our goal as a leader is to build relationships with people, accomplish the mission, et cetera, et cetera. So if we start just calling people out in front of a senior leadership on a call, well, are you forming a good relationship with people? The answer is no. You're actually making them mad. And they're saying the first thing they're going to do when you call them out is call you up as soon as the call ends, and they're going to say, dude, why didn't you tell me that? Why are you telling me this in front of the boss? So here's the deal. You should not ever have to throw someone under the bus without plenty of warning, right? Without plenty of them to know and expect and be prepared with an answer. That's what you should be doing. It's kind of like that escalation of counseling that I talk about. Like you start off by just saying, hey man, you were late, what's up? And you go all the way to like, okay, if you're late again, and there's a whole slow escalation, or depending on how fast you need to get it done. But with this one, it's the same thing. You say, hey Echo, you're part of the project. Well, do you need help right now? What's going on? You don't seem up to speed. And then we escalate to, hey Echo, you just missed another target date. This is the second target date you've missed. We got a problem. And then it's, hey Echo, do you not have the support that you need? What do you need? Because this isn't working out. And then it's, look, the only way I'm going to be able to do this is we got to bring this up to the boss. I think you need more people. And that's another important thing is you frame it in such a way that it's not hurting them, but it's actually helping them. So I might say on the call, hey, Alpha team is working really hard, but they need more X, Y, and Z to get the job done. So, I think we should give Echo and Alpha Team more X, Y, and Z. Okay? Because he missed a date, and I know they're working hard. Or you say, I think we need more people allocated over to Alpha Team. I think they've been overtasked, and they could use some support, so let's give them some more people. Or you can even say, I'm moving 2 people from my team over to Alpha Team temporarily to give them some additional capacity over there because their task is more demanding than what I've been assigned. So all of those things are letting everyone know, bringing the problem to the attention of the group, so that now you say, actually, Jocko, here's what's going on. I don't need 2 more people. I need 4 more people. Or, you say, okay, hey, I don't need anyone else. If you're one of those people, the ego gets in the way. And you say, I don't need anyone else. And people say, okay, well, you missed 2 time marks. You missed 2, dates. Well, I don't need any more people. Okay, well, let's see if you can make this next date. Then I guess you don't. But if you miss another date, well, then I guess you need more people. So we move through it like that. So yeah, you do have to discuss things. You can discuss these things. You can bring them up in a way that they are not offensive to people. They don't throw them under the bus, but they do, however, signify that the bus is around. And that if we aren't careful, you might get hit by the bus. And you got to give people plenty of warning. It's the same thing I've talked about in the past with skipping the chain of command. You shouldn't be skipping the chain of command unless you've given so much warning, and you do it in such a way that they actually know it's going to happen. They expect it's going to happen. They kind of agree with you. So be careful with those things. Again, if someone's doing something immoral, illegal, unethical, and you skip the chain of command because you've already tried to solve with them and they're not doing it, well, then you might have to just go get some. Because if you're culpable if you don't. Yeah. So form good relationships with people. Don't form antagonistic relationships. I just had a conversation with a guy when I was in Boston. Similar situation, but he was saying there was a situation he was in, and what he said was politically, he didn't want to address it because politically, if he addressed it, it might explode. And I said, well, if you address the situation, it's like a classic case. I know how to do this more efficiently. This experienced person doesn't want to try my method. Right. Okay. And I said, well, why don't you present him with the method and say, hey, here's how we should do this. And he says, no, I don't want to do that because the person that I want to get to use the new method is really close friends with the boss, and if I form that bad relationship, it's going to be bad. And I go, would that affect your overall mission, to your ability to do the mission, to have bad relationships, not only with your immediate boss, but with your boss's boss? And he's like, yes, it would. And I go, then it doesn't sound like a good plan. There you go. There's your answer, because even though you have a better method, and you might say like a person with a direct train of thought mindset would say, no, you tell the boss's boss that this is the method and we're going to be more efficient if we do it this way. Well, now you've just exploded a bomb on yourself, and it's going to be bad. So I gave him the classic, hey, why don't you say, listen, I think I've thought of a new method. I think we might be able to get some efficiencies out of it, but since I'm not as experienced and don't know the systems as well as you do, I would love to get your feedback on how it works. I think that you're the only one that could really know how to do this because you're so experienced and smart and brilliant and all that stuff and awesome. Yeah. And you try and feed him some of the new methods so that he can try it and either say, yeah, this stuff's pretty good, or, you know what, there's some things that you didn't realize, young buck, and we got to get them fixed. Yep. So, check. Try and form relationships, positive relationships, not antagonistic relationships. If you throw people under the bus, you're not forming good relationships. No. Check.
Especially that surprise one. That's rough. Dang.
Yeah.
Next question. To give you a little backstory, I tried my first Jiu Jitsu class last week, and during the rolling part of the class, happened to get matched up with another white belt who has been going to the gym for over a year. During the roll, I got thrashed around a bit and tapped to what I've been told was called a cross collar choke. I ended up getting gi burns on my neck and my face. That's the game right there. As well as getting my lip split.
Get some.
Having trained Muay Thai and sparred for a couple of years, I'm used to physical pain, and that didn't exactly bother me. What did bother me was the marks that were left on my face, which in addition to just not looking good, I can't have. because my job requires that I meet with clients face to face, and these clients might make judgments and assume I was in a street fight. I also think the white belt I was rolling with went a little too hard on me, but I don't know enough about jiu-jitsu to determine whether or not people go full speed every roll. I know that in Muay Thai boxing, normally we try to tone down the intensity level for newbies, especially the first time they spar. So my questions are, 1, does jiu-jitsu normally leave you with lots of marks or scrapes on your face? I don't mind occasionally getting them, but can't go home with them after every class. That's A. Or first question. Second question, do people normally go full speed in rolling? And if not, how do I get him to stop without sounding like a giant wimp?
Okay, so number 1, does BJJ normally leave you with lots of marks or scrapes on your face? The answer is no, not normally. Will you occasionally? Yes, you will get dinged up. You'll get black eyes. You'll split your lip. You'll have gi burns on your face. You'll get scratched. Yeah, that's gonna happen. But it's not regular.
Yeah,
it's not regular. It's, what do you think? Once every 3 weeks
on your face and neck. Yeah, once every 3 weeks.
Once every 3 weeks,
maybe 4 weeks.
Yeah, maybe once a month. You have something visible while you're wearing a suit, presenting to clients.
Given the normal amount of training, like if
training,
you're
training once a day,
straight up competitive, mode 2 times a day, 5 days a week,
then it does
more, of course.
Then it's more.
But normal training, yeah.
And then the next question is, do people normally go full speed in rolling? And if not, how do I get him to stop without sounding like a giant wimp? So this is actually funny because if you think about it, think about this. He's kind of complaining in a way that the other person was going too hard, right?
Yes.
And yet he didn't tap to this until his face was scraped and got thrashed around. So what I'm saying is, it takes 2 people to escalate a situation, and without knowing it, he escalated the situation because he resisted as hard as he could. He's only been training for a day, and he's going in there fighting like crazy instead of just relaxing and being like, "Hey, I've never trained before. Oh, you're gonna choke me out? Cool.
Yeah.
Instead of learning and relaxing, you allow yourself to get caught up in the primal instinct of fighting for your life, which is what happens when people start jiu-jitsu. The primal instinct takes over, and it's also ego and the will to win. It takes over, and they just want to go so hard, and they can't believe that this little guy's choking me. They're not going to let it happen. So that is actually your ego, and it is also your ego. And I tell people all the time, one of the main reasons people get hurt in jiu-jitsu is because of ego. You either don't tap, number 1, which is just stupid, or you don't say no to rolling with people that you shouldn't roll with. That's it. And when I say don't tap, it's like, it has to do with the way you're rolling too, right? I mean, if you're just going to fight everything so super hard because you want to win, well, then you're going to end up having a much higher chance of getting injured. So I fall into that sometimes too. If I had a hurt knee the other day, and maybe like a month ago, my knee was a little hurt, and I was rolling, but I hadn't been doing a lot of stand-up, and all of a sudden I was escalating with whoever, with like Andy or someone, and all of a sudden I was standing, and I didn't want to give up the position, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And as I'm standing there, I'm like, oh, this is your ego right now. You have no reason to sit here and fight on the feet where your knee is actually bothering you. Just don't be an idiot and just pull guard. And so no big deal, right? Okay, pull guard. It's whatever.
Did you pull guard?
I did, yeah, because I realized I was being stupid. And if I've been healing and I'm almost good to go, and now I'm going to jeopardize it because I want to stand up and get some, right?
I want to win.
Stupid. Yeah. Stupid. So that is what you have to do. You have to put your ego in check, and that is a huge part of jiu-jitsu. That's one of the things that makes jiu-jitsu so impactful. It's so humbling. Your ego can't withstand it. And despite how hard you fought against this guy in this question, that guy was still going to tap you out. You didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, my first class versus a guy who'd been rolling for over a year.
Yeah. You don't stand a chance. You don't. So what you want to do is you want to learn. So put your ego aside, relax, talk, and if you get someone that's going so you don't want to sound like a wimp, that's what gets you hurt. Right. What's cool is when somebody's 58 years old and they're on the mat and some some 22-year-old blue belt that weighs 80 pounds more than them says, hey, you want to roll? And the older dude says, no, man, I'm good. I'm not rolling with you. Because their ego is in check.
Yeah.
And they realize that's not going to get them anywhere.
Yeah.
Rolling with this big idiot.
Yeah.
That's not going to get them anywhere. So they're saying, no, I don't want to roll with you. Their ego is fine. They're over it.
Yeah.
So put your ego in check. You won't get marked up a lot, and people will go full speed if you're going full speed. That's the answer.
Yeah.
The harder you go, the harder the other person's going. You want to go in there and get to a level 7 death match with every person you roll with, you're going to get them.
Yeah.
You're going to get them, especially with people that are around your level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if the person's a purple belt or a brown belt or a black belt, you can go nuts on them. It doesn't even matter to them. They're just going to be laughing at you. Although you can offend them. And I've seen some black belts and some good jiu-jitsu practitioners that get offended if someone attacks them with fury, like they have a chance. And you go, okay, cool. You want to be like that? I'm going to smash you. And I've done that from time to time. You know, where someone just they're in there. They're like, they think it's their day or whatever, and they think they're going to get you. Yeah. And you go, oh, you're not going to get me, but now you're going to get got. Yeah. And it's not going to be fun.
Yeah, that tends to happen though. Not if you're well within the confines of just jiu-jitsu stuff, like but if you start to drift towards the edges of etiquette. So like, let's say like if you know, I'm going to spar with you and today's my day, and I start stiff arming you hard and doing that kind of stuff that's it's legal, but it's like, yeah,
for sure,
you shouldn't, you know, it's like that kind of stuff that'll make a higher belt mad, I think. Well, and
you are correct.
It depends,
you are correct. Just someone going level 9 psycho. Yeah. Instead of just being, oh, you want to roll? Hey, cool. Hey, we're going to use strength. I get that. We're going to use strength. That's the way it works. That's part of the game. That's why we work out, right? Yeah. I get that we're going to go fast. I get that. That's cool. Yeah. But you want to just go level 9 psycho? Cool. It's not going to work out good. Yeah. And just cruise, man. Have a good time. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm a huge advocate of cruising for sure. But I support like guys going hard.
For sure.
Even like young guys, I mean, like where this guy.
But the thing is, this guy's saying, how does he stop it? Yeah. The way you stop it is by relaxing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in full support of people going hard. Yeah. You know, and I go hard. Yeah. Right? Yes, you're right. Yeah, I mean, I train hard for sure. But like if I don't know you, and you want to just go level 9, cool. We'll go level 9. You go. Yeah. But you know,
it's all the spectrum of jiu-jitsu, and also I get it though. Like, you know, he doesn't want marks all over his face all the time. To me, you don't even have to say because of work. You just say, I don't want marks all over my neck and my face all the time. You know,
that's weird because that's actually what I do want.
You kind of feel it's cool, but you know how like, okay, so I don't wear a mouthpiece anymore, so every once in a great while, like I'll bite my tongue on the side, and then you can't eat for a few days. Not that good. Yeah, it's or you ever get your jaw?
Kind of exaggerating, but you can't eat for a few days. No, it hurts to eat ketchup. Yes. Next question.
Salad with Italian dressing really hurts.
Stings.
Yeah, that's more. You're right. Eat for a couple. That's exaggerating. But or if you get like a jaw, like this is what I'll get. My common one. You'll get your jaw whacked, like by a knee or something. Incidental
side
stuff.
Hurts real bad.
Yeah, so you can't bite down on that side.
Yeah, I don't like that.
So you kind of can't eat for like a week. You
gotta
drink through a straw. Like, anyway, but so yeah, I get it. But just like how you said, man, it's that ego, and I'm in support of ego. It's kind of what gives jiu-jitsu and doing jiu-jitsu its luster. Yeah. Really, the guy going like, what if I roll with you and I tap you out, but you were not going hard at all? I don't want to do that. I'd rather get tapped out by you every single time than tap you out when you weren't going hard. As far as like my jiu-jitsu journey kind of thing. Yeah. But at the same time, like, bro, if you don't want that beef, if you don't want to go with some big guy going hard, bro, just say, sorry, bro. I mean, no disrespect. The main concern is not disrespecting the guy. Like, you know how I've asked people to roll, and I know I'm maybe a little bit more big or whatever than like the average guy. Right. So I'll ask someone to roll, and they won't even answer. They'll just look away. Straight up look away. And I'm like, okay, I really got to kind of understand, okay, maybe they just don't want that beef, and they don't know how to say it to me respectfully, you know?
I've never had anyone, like, look away. That's weird.
Yeah. I had a time...
After you asked them?
I asked a guy to roll, and he acted like he didn't hear me and looked away. I went to the next guy, I was standing up too. Maybe that kind of didn't help my situation, but whatever. I asked the guy right next to him, same exact thing. He acted like, he was kind of in a conversation. And then I got a little bit frustrated. I said, so no one's rolling here. That's what I said. So that's what we're doing. Everyone's saying that no one's rolling. And then someone rolled with me, I think, or whatever, it was a little while ago. But
the intimidator.
No, but here's the thing. Of course, at the time, it's a little bit frustrating. And this is kind of part of the point where if they didn't want to roll because maybe whatever, I was too big and they were small or something like that, then you can tell the guy, hey, look, respectfully, I don't want to roll with you. I fear injury. I fear whatever. I fear marks on my face or whatever. Bro, no problem. I dig it and I understand. Even if there's no one else to roll with.
But you're saying have the respect to tell you the truth.
That's the thing.
Because your ego needs the little pump of they're scared of you.
Wouldn't that be the opposite though? Nonetheless, that's the thing though. That's what you have to, in my opinion, you have to address.
Yeah. And the other thing about this, and because I may have, that being said, if someone wants to roll with you, if you're a healthy human being, man, get it on. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, that's what I was saying when that happened.
I get it if you have a situation, and this is one that I always have to watch out for. If I have let's say I'm injured, and let's say I normally do 10 rounds, 9 rounds, 8 rounds. That's my normal training.
Dang,
and when I'm injured, I'll be okay, I'm only going to do 4 rounds. I'm only going to do 5 rounds. But then someone's let's get one more.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing for me is to say no, because my instinct all the time is if someone wants to roll, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get it on. You want to roll with me? Let's get it on.
Yeah. And again, this is all part of it. And this is a total opinion or philosophy or whatever, but that's how it should be. That's what I think too. That's how it should be. If I ask you to roll and you're just sitting there during the rolling part of training and you're just sitting there essentially waiting for someone to ask you to roll, really, that's what it is.
Right.
And you turn your head, then why are you here? You're only going to roll with the smaller guys? Now, what if you asked me to roll
and I was hey, man, I got a tweaked knee. I can't roll anymore today, man.
No.
You're good with that?
Fine. Yeah, 100%.
You go home and I chalk that up as a win against Jocko.
Yep, that's what I would do, 100%. But yes, no, I'm talking about being selective with who you roll. I won't roll with him because he'll tap me out. I won't roll with him because he goes hard and I'll get tired. I don't want to roll with him because he looks roll with
the toughest people.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
And again, that's your philosophy, and I agree with that. But if you're being selective, that guy's too big and advanced, he might mess me up. Look, if you're concerned about actual injury, that's one thing. But if you're basically the situation that I explained I was in, and this is what I think, given all the information I kind of gathered from the situation, they didn't want to roll with me because I was maybe, I don't know, big or intimidating.
Were you higher belts than them?
Yes.
That's really weird then.
No, but see, and that's what I thought too. I was well, maybe that.
Because
then
honestly,
why are you here?
if you're a lower belt and you're smaller, you have absolutely no shame in getting tapped out by a big dude that's a higher belt than you.
That's what I was saying. Because I was talking to my brother and Greg about it.
Did you do a breath check before you went in there or something? Maybe a gi check? Maybe you just smelled really bad. No one wanted to roll with you.
No, bro, because the fact is I did do those checks. I do them every single time. That's why I know. But I talked to my brother and Greg about this.
Yeah.
I was trying to be understanding, but at the first part of the conversation.
Did they roll with Greg Train?
No. I don't think Greg was there at that
Greg
time.
Train, you might underestimate Greg Train.
Yeah.
You might be I'll just roll with this little guy over here.
You see his ears, you're I don't want that beef. I was talking to them at the next day or something, so they weren't there. But so Greg was saying the same thing as you. He's nah, you don't do that stuff. Why are you even here then? You know? But Jade brought up a good point. He said, well, it doesn't matter why you think they should be there. They're there. They pay their membership, and they're there to learn Jiu Jitsu. They have the right to train with whoever they want, and they have the right to not train with whoever they don't want to train with.
Charles with the free will.
Right, it's true. And that very thing applies to this guy right here.
Casting etiquette out the window. Jade Charles.
Right, yeah. And that's kind of the counter argument, which is legitimate, by the way. There is the etiquette of the mats. It's it's like if you go to a 24-hour fitness gym or whatever, you're the guy. You're not, nowadays they have a sign that says re-rack your weights, but there's certain things that you just got to do for the etiquette.
You know Akbar? Do you know Akbar?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
We came up together.
Akbar, yeah, he's a beast, right?
Yes.
And he fights at 155, so he'd walk around at 170, strong.
Yeah.
And
not scared to
not scared. But, he and I would have wars, total wars every single time, mayhem. And we had a pact always.
Sure.
Is that I will roll with you no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what is going on, I will roll. I will roll with you. And it was always like he'd come in.
Yeah.
For me, it was, I'd roll in from either work or I'd be done training with a bunch of people and then he'd show up. Or for him, it was he'd be done with like a crazy sparring session. Yeah. But yeah, so I always told him, no matter what, I'll roll with you.
Yeah.
And the reason I told him that is because I didn't want to roll with him.
Yeah.
Because it was always freaking hardcore.
Yeah.
It was always because he moved all the time and he was so strong and so fast and bony.
Yeah.
And his submissions are savage. And he was a guy that I didn't want to roll with him. And that's exactly why I made a pact with him. I would always roll with him.
You gotta do it. You want that beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a siege to roll with it. And there's guys like that. And, what's funny? Taylor and Andy, by the way, they're like that if you make it like that. But if you don't, well, you might be different because you're kind of in a different position. But when you roll with them, if you start to go light, they'll just go light the whole time, by the way. But if you turn up the heat, then they'll turn up the heat and it's like boom. But yeah, that's a big thing where like some guys, man, you're like, okay, I got to get mentally ready to do this, because they just bring a lot.
Yeah. And it depends how your game matches up with them too.
Yeah.
Your game matches differently with different people.
Yeah, that's true too. Big time. But yeah, this guy, does it normally leave you with lots of marks? Not really. I think you're right. But the more ambitious, hungry white belts you roll with the gi, the more marks
and the more your ego forces you to fight them as if it's a death match.
Yeah.
Level 9.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. And then do people go full speed? 50-50 maybe?
Well,
as far as
actually,
full speed,
no.
Technically, it's all full speed, right? Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, can you cruise? Like, I always do one warm up round with Andy. No one else with Andy and Dean. Dean won't do a warm up round with me because that's when he attacks me with full strength. Andy is awesome, and we always do one round just to break a sweat. We're just cruising, and then the next round we'll go. And when we go, we go. I guess maybe there's some gradation at the high end of the spectrum. And I will recognize a difference between that. Like, let's say, for instance, you say, I'll know I don't want to let Andy pass my guard today, right? Yeah. Like, for like a legit reason. Like, I think he's got some new offensive move that I see him been pulling off, and I go, well, if he gets this position on me today, I'm going to be in a real bad situation. Yeah. So he's not passing my guard. So then he'll feel like I'm going harder. Yeah. Because a lot of times you pass my guard, okay, cool, whatever. Now you're cross side. Now I'm trying to escape that. What you know what I mean? It's that's like when you're competing, when someone is competing with you in jiu-jitsu, especially with the gi, it's so noticeable in a competition how hard they grip everything and how you can't get a millimeter of movement that you don't have to fight for. Yeah. So you can't simulate that level of intensity on the mats. Yeah. That only comes in competition.
Yeah. Yeah, very hard.
On the training mats.
But in a way, and I talked to Greg about this a lot, where it's kind of, how like someone's being super stubborn, like the day I was talking to him, this is what I was talking about. Like the guy who you get a sweep on him or something, and it's almost like they're not even fighting jiu-jitsu anymore. They just want to get to their feet and stand up because they don't want to play on the bottom, right? These guys. So I was talking to him about that, and that it was kind of frustrating and whatever. And he was like, hey, bro, that's kind of his job. His job is to give you an accurate representation of somebody giving you trouble in whatever way.
Yeah, and I was about to tell. That's the same thing that Jade Charles said. Like, if you allow that guy to get to your feet, then that's bad. As a matter of fact, I went through this cycle with Dean where I realized that I wasn't giving Dean a good representation because every time he had some good guard passes that he would do from a little bit of a distance, and they were working well. And then I said, well, why don't I just stand up? Yeah. And so then I just started standing up, and then all of a sudden he realized he couldn't give me that much space, which messed up that guard pass, which put us back to both getting better because we were improving the techniques that we were each using. Yeah. So sometimes now, have you ever rolled with someone that they're just not doing they're just not engaging? Yeah, right. So, they're not engaging, and that can be a little bit frustrating. Yes, and sometimes I do that.
Yeah, but that's part of an overall strategy.
It is part
though.
of an overall strategy.
But yeah, 100%. Like the guy who's not engaged, because again, this goes back to why you're doing jiu-jitsu to begin with, though. So let's say if you're doing it like to compete in a tournament, a guy not engaging, that's part of your training right there too.
Yeah, that is.
But if you're like, if this is a fight and if you like all elements, and let's say you're focusing on like a self-defense situation and the guy's not engaging, then yeah, you might as well be like, I might as well train with somebody else.
It is good. You're right. It is good because also I've gone with like some wrestlers that they know let's say they're a purple belt in jiu-jitsu and they're doing a 5-minute round with you, and they're just their goal is to just avoid and not get tapped out, and they're not really going to roll jiu-jitsu with you. They're just going to avoid and not get tapped out. They're not going to progress. Like they get the double leg, now they're in your guard, they're going to sit there and hold your hips. So they're going to sit there. So for me, what I have to do, I need to have some moves to get them out of that situation. Got to take some ownership of that stuff.
Yeah, just like the guy who doesn't like tap, who's strong and doesn't tap. So he either forces you to like injure him or let go, kind of thing. Yeah, that's kind of the same thing where it's a weird dichotomy though, because like, what do you do now? Now it's kind of up to you. The guy. Okay, so if the guy doesn't tap, right, and you kind of get mad at him, like, tap, you're gonna force me to injure you. You have to take that training as this realistic training where this guy is giving you a very accurate look. Where, sure, you can choose to injure him. Now it's on you. You chose to injure him. Sure, and whatever you chose, especially if he was giving you less of an option. Or you just let him go and understand that, yeah, I understand accurately, you got to be honest with yourself, that I would have had that submission. I could have injured him. But don't be all mad because,
that's just your ego.
You should have tapped and gave me that win in training. Like, don't do that.
Cares,
yeah, you gotta keep your mind. Wait, but you said who cares? Come on, bro. Come on.
I said that's your ego talking.
I know, but bro, you care, though. I care.
What if someone...
Because one time the reason I was talking to Greg again about a guy I was running with who didn't want to tap. And I was mad because he was forcing me to either injure him or he wasn't going to give me that win in training.
So what'd you do?
I let him go. Bro, one time, and it was a white belt, he started going hard. You know how this is just a
white belt? Like what submission was it?
I'm talking about another story now. I totally
okay,
because
I'm just saying, like,
Kimura, okay, so the original story I was talking.
That's an idiot not to tap into a Kimura.
Yeah, he was strong, but
so maybe you didn't really have it,
bro. I had it, bro. I'm not weak either. That's the thing. So he's strong, and I'm like, okay, it's to here. It didn't matter. I knew with certainty where it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to injure the person now. And he didn't tap, but Greg made a good point where it's like that's his job. He's giving you an accurate look of what it's like. So at the end of the day, sure, I could have chose to injure him, and then it's partially his fault. But the thing is, I can't account for whether it's his fault or not. I'm accounting for what training I'm getting. By the way, what training I'm getting. It's not a competition. It's not on the street. Switching stories, I'll make it quick, it was a white belt I was rolling with. He was going nuts. And I took it personal, back to what we were talking about earlier.
What belt were you at this time?
Purple.
Dang.
So I was taking it personal. I was like, oh, how dare you try to go nuts on me? Like, just doing stuff. It was all within the confines of etiquette, but he was going a little bit too hard.
Right.
Later, I found out that's just his style, by the way, which is a total innocent thing. But at that time, I was like, no. I was like, oh, okay, you want to go hard? I'm going to go hard. And I injured him. Here's the thing. I injured him with a submission because I went Kimura again. Yeah. And not that I did it necessarily so hard that I hurt him, but he had a bad shoulder. Yeah. And I didn't really know. He was like, no, it's okay. I had a bad shoulder to begin with. And I was
I was going to say I've never injured anyone with a submission, but I have injured a couple people. One of them. Did I injure you?
Yeah, my rib, man.
Oh, yeah, but that's just rolling,
I injured myself.
Right?
Yeah,
that's just rolling.
True.
No, but I'm saying with a submission locked in. Right?
Yeah.
The times I've done it is I can only think of one off the top of my head, and it was a guy, like you said, just had pre-existing shoulder injury that was like tap, and then I'm hurt, and then my shoulder's bad.
Right.
Like, bro, you're rolling with me?
Yeah.
Tell me. And it was a black belt,
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, come on. Not a guy I'd seen in a while.
Yeah.
But I just go, big, strong guy.
Yeah.
Got the Kimura and put it on, and all of a sudden he's like, and injured.
Yeah.
And I just said, bro, and it wasn't, I know the complete limitations of where it's injury or not, and I was not there yet at all.
Yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, I got a bad shoulder. I should have told you. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Feels a
actually
bummer.
why I felt really guilty, because I was like, oh, you want to go hard? So I did it hard. I wasn't trying to hurt him. But if he had a bad shoulder, which he did, I understand it hurt him.
Yeah.
And that doesn't surprise me that it hurt him. And I shouldn't have went that hard to begin with, as far as like going, I know how to do Kimura good.
Yeah,
where I control.
and just kind of to clarify my earlier statements, like when somebody goes level 9 on me, it doesn't mean I'm like out to, you know,
Right,
I
out to
just
get 'em.
I just apply level. If they're at level 9, I'm going to apply level 9.1 back to them and put them
Yeah.
in position. And actually, usually I do something to them that forces them to calm down. Like I'll get across side and be like,
Yeah,
keep spazzing, keep going nuts right now. I'm just going to be here,
Work
cruising.
against you.
Yeah,
At level 9.1, but just
level 9.1, but completely cruising.
yeah,
Because they
That's how
can't
it-
move. They're freaking
Yeah.
bucking and going crazy and getting nuts, and then you're just sitting there.
Yeah, yeah.
Check.
But yeah, I still feel guilty about that day. I'll never do it again. Next question. Hi, Jocko. I have read your book, Extreme Ownership, from cover to cover, and I learnt a lot from it. And I have a question that bothers me. The question is, how can I be noticed by the people and get chosen for a leader?
Okay. Kind of another question that I hear. You know, people get worried that if they're just kind of putting their head down and working, then they were not going to get noticed. How do I get noticed? How do I
Right,
become a leader? Stop worrying about being noticed. That's number one. Stop worrying about being noticed and keep working hard. Stop worrying about being chosen as a leader. If your goal is to get chosen as a leader, no. Work hard. Actually work really hard and then put the team first. So all these thoughts and efforts that you have around getting noticed and being recognized, instead of having them focused on being recognized and being noticed, put those thoughts on making the team successful. Wow, right? Wow.
Yeah.
Put the team first. That's what I'm saying. Right now, with this question, you're actually putting your self-recognition above the team. So instead of thinking about that, think about how you can help the team win. And the more of a team player you are, the more people will want to work with you. The more you help the team win, the more people say, I want you on my team. And eventually they say, okay, you know what? I want you to lead this team because you want this team to win so bad. We want you to lead this team. So that is what you do. Now, that being said, right, there's always a balance, because I'm not saying that you sit back and just and keep your fingers crossed that if you work hard, someone's going to notice you. Now, with this guy who's all worried about being noticed, don't worry about being noticed. You're going to get noticed if you work out and put your head down. But there's some people that they might be so humble that they're not going to get noticed for what they're doing. So how do you overcome that? Well, this doesn't mean that you sit back and you're passive. And I'll tell you, the best way to stand out, or one of the best ways to stand out, is volunteer. Volunteer for everything that comes up and then crush it. The crappy jobs that no one wants, volunteer for those things. That's what I used to see. I used to see the young new guys in the SEAL teams. That's how you tell. You get some crappy job. You walk out to a group of guys going through training, a bunch of platoon guys, and you're, hey, I need 3 guys. There'd be like 2 new guys that would just be like, their hands would be up before you could get done saying the sentence. And you just see the look on their face. What do they want to do? They just want to win. And I love those guys. They're just like, oh, I'll do that. Hey, hey, I need a couple guys to, boom, their hands are up. You don't even know, going to say, go clean the sewer out. They don't care. They don't care. They're volunteering for everything. And you know, when I got to the team, that's what I did. Volunteered for as a matter of fact, I volunteered to be a radio man because I'd heard that it was a really hard job that no one wanted. I was like, oh, okay, I'll do that job. You got a job that's really hard that no one wants, carrying a heavy weight. You don't get to shoot it, right? You get to carry an M60. There's a major benefit to that. That is, you get to unload massive amounts of firepower. You carry a radio, you're just sitting around with batteries.
It's kind of hardcore in a different way, huh?
It is. And luckily I got told 2 things. Number one, that no one wanted that job, and number 2, that if you were a radioman, you'd go on every mission because they always need a radioman. And I said, oh, well, that's me. I want to go on every mission. So I'll carry that radio. But that and everything, you just volunteer for everything. So that's one of the best ways that you can make a good impression is by volunteering for stuff and then crushing it. And eventually people look at you and they say, oh, this guy doesn't care what we give him. He's going to crush this task. And you know what? People like working with him because he's worried about the team. And this person seems like let's give him a little task. Let him lead something. Because sometimes when you volunteer for something, you're volunteering for a leadership position. Hey, I need 4 guys. One of those people is going to be in charge, right? It's not going to be 4 guys going equally into something, right? No, someone's going to be
With
in
no
charge.
direction.
Yeah, someone's going to take charge of it. Be that person.
Huh. Yeah, that's good. This when he said, "How can I be noticed?" So
Work hard.
Yeah, but you know how it's like, okay, that's what I want. I want to be noticed, right? So you ever walk into a bar or something, and a girl walks in, and you can tell she's trying to be noticed? It's a bad look, man. So what I'm saying is, if you're trying to be noticed, bro, people can see that stuff. This guy's just trying to be noticed right here, and it does the opposite, obviously.
And you're right. That's the hardest thing to convince people of is the fact that if you're just working hard, you'll get noticed. You will get noticed.
It's like you do something kind of good or whatever, brave. I don't know. Hey, look! Did you guys all see how brave I was right there?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. No one wants you to be the leader right there. It's like saying, hey guys, that task I did pretty good, right? I was really humble. No one's more humble than me. No one's more humble than me.
Stop worrying about you and think of helping the team and volunteer a bunch, and that's where you end up in a leadership position.
Yeah.
Got time for one more?
Yeah, might as well. Last question. Question for Uncle Jake from James, who's 9. Can you be weak but strong at the same time?
Can you be weak but strong at the same time? Yes, you can. You can. Because you can be, for instance, you can be physically strong, but at the same time, you could be mentally weak, or you could be the opposite. You could be mentally weak, but at the same time, physically strong. And I would love to be able to put a priority on one of those. And I know I've said before that knowledge is the most important thing. But the reality is, if you don't have the strength or actually the health to back that up or even to function as a human being physically, then your knowledge and your mental strength doesn't really even matter. So that comes into play. And being big and strong is also totally useless if you're mentally weak and you quit. Now, being mentally strong should actually lead you to being physically strong, because if you are mentally strong, then you can work and train to become physically strong. But if you're mentally weak, then you will not hold the line on the good foods and the good workouts, and you won't get physically strong or healthy. So, can you be weak and strong at the same time? Yes, but I say be strong. Train your physical strength and exercise your mental strength by doing the right things, the hard things. The things you know you're supposed to do. Do them. And be as strong as you can mentally, physically, and emotionally for yourself, for your team, for your family. Hold the line and be strong. And I think that's all I've got for tonight. So, Echo Charles, speaking of holding the line, perhaps you could hold your portion of the line here and explain to people how they can support this podcast in the event that they would like to do so.
Sure. Be happy to. Thanks for allowing me the opportunity. We'll talk about origin, right? American made, of course, from the beginning to end, American made. It's a big deal, actually. Also, supplements, right? Jocko supplements.
Wait, American made what? What was that first part?
Everything. And that's like a disclaimer. Like everything I'm about to talk about from origin is American made, straight up. So people, you've been being asked about supplements for a while.
Yeah.
Probably from the beginning, I think. All right, well, here you go. Here's some Jocko supplements. For your joints, krill oil, super krill oil. So not just krill, it's super krill oil. Jocko super krill oil. Boom. Also, Jocko joint warfare. That's like a blend. Glucosamine. Is it chondroitin? Chondroitin.
Which comes from, you know where it comes from?
No.
Sea cucumbers.
Dang.
Didn't know that, did you?
I didn't. Actually, I think you mentioned it, but I don't, Hey, we know now, and really that's what's important. Very good stuff, because I would say it is the main thing, like joint supplements, like krill oil. These supplements help me way more than any protein powder. And back in I used to take protein powder and, these weight gainer things, and I don't even think that they helped, really. I'm not saying they don't help, but you just don't. The joint stuff, krill oil, especially joint warfare, these things help you way more. And for longer, too, by the way. Nonetheless, there's also some gis on there and rash guards, still all made in America. From the beginning to the end. It's one thing to import material from, other places, and that's cool, too. I get it, and I dig it, but in the event of you wanting it, all the stuff to be made in America, boom, originmain.com. Go in there, see what you like, get something if you want. Also, fitness gear. So I was, I'm into kettlebells now. I'm into other lifting too, of course, but kettlebells are a bigger part of my routine. And just slowly I kind of get more like, you get stronger, you get the bigger one. I stood back the other day when I was lifting. Stood back and looked at my setup. It's pretty dope. I don't have like the normal kettlebells. That's why I have this one. The point is, okay, so On It, that's where I get the kettlebells from. On It. There's some other cool stuff on there. But mine are all the primal bells. Few legend bells. They're like the artistic ones, obviously. Kind of when you sit back and you look at your setup, I think that's a big deal. When your setup is dope, I'm just saying. So yeah, you want your setup to be dope, go to On It, get their kettlebells. You can get the regular ones too. See, and they're kind of understated, and I dig it. But no, man, I'm sticking with the werewolf. I got that Bigfoot one, 90 pounds. Been doing some work with that one. How big is yours?
My biggest is 40 kilograms. Yeah, that's only 88 pounds. Yeah. You might be getting 2 pounds stronger than me.
Yeah, every single rep. So that's something.
Cool.
It's not nothing. It's something. Anyway, onit.com/Jocko. That's a good one. Same thing. Go on there. You like something? Get something. Good way to support. Also, when you buy these books that Jocko reviews from time to time, no book today. I understand. But you want to buy any of those books on our website, JockoPodcast.com. Section called Books from Episodes. All the books by episode. Boom. Click through there when you get them. And if you happen to do any other shopping, boom, click through there. Same thing, same deal, takes you to Amazon and, boom, that's a good way to support. Small action, big read, just a one little click. Go in there, shop, boom, good way to support. Excellent way to support. Also, subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Seems obvious, I know, but, sometimes you want to listen to one or two or whatever. Be like, is it worth it to subscribe? I think, yeah, subscribe. You think so?
Yeah. I subscribe to this podcast.
Yeah, me too. And I have the actual, might as well. It's good. And that's a good way to support. Leave a review if you're in the mood too. Because, it makes sense, where you figure, people on Twitter, they'll say, like, if something's up, like, hey, there was like a definition. Remember there was the one book I It's I'm drawing a blank on which book, but it was a British one.
Oh, and there was a mistake?
No, there wasn't a mistake. There was the word knob.
Yeah.
Remember we called him a knob?
That was
and
a
I was
mistake,
like, what is a knob?
Yeah.
And then people on Twitter were like, boom, sending me, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. So it makes sense, feedback, man. We're all involved, So yeah, if you want to leave a review, man. If you're in the mood. Don't have to, of course, but if you're in the mood too. Also, YouTube. Subscribe to that one. We have a YouTube channel, Jocko Podcast. Pretty good one. On top of the video version of this podcast, we include little excerpts from the podcast. Mm-hmm. Just little nuggets of, how, especially with the Q&A, it's good because it's like, okay, I don't want to listen to the whole Q&A, even though I do mark them by timestamp and subject. But nonetheless, they're little where you can kind of share it with, oh, shoot, I remember my friend who needed some advice on Jiu Jitsu rolling or how to do good in college or whatever, So you can just share it with them. They don't have to listen to the whole podcast. Anyway, they're little excerpts we put on there. Some other stuff too. Deleted scenes from time to time. Might add another one of those. Anyway, point is subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to. Also, Jocko is a store. It's called JockoStore. JockoStore.com. On there are T-shirts, travel mugs, some bumper stickers. We might be out of bumper stickers. No. We have bumper stickers. Some women's stuff on there. Some shirts, of course. I feel like we haven't talked about the layers on the shirts recently.
That's really disappointing to everyone to not hear you talk about the layers on the shirts.
Or maybe that in and of itself is a layer, right? You just don't talk about the layers. You just let them exist.
Layers. That's a layer in its own right.
That's what I mean.
Layers are just there.
Yeah, exactly right. So
that is pretty lame if you have to describe the layers.
Yeah, it's like describing like the punchline of a joke kind of. It's not a joke. Funny. Yeah, it's just a whack joke. Either way, some shirts on there. Also, rash guards. I think we're doing a Warrior Kid rash guard.
Oh, nice.
We're doing it with Pete.
Oh, nice. American made.
Warrior Kid rash guards.
Nice.
One side says win, the other side says learn, and the back says this is about everything.
Dang.
It's going to be good.
Credit. How far out are those from being released?
We're narrowing down the cut, because kids are, I was talking to Pete, he's like, kids are shaped different. They're just shaped kind of weird, so you got to there's some refining that kind of has to go into the shape, but yeah, that's more or less it.
Check.
Also I said women's stuff, but yeah, some hoodies. Hoodies should be available.
Nice.
If not right this moment, anytime.
They're available this moment. They're coming.
Yeah.
Thick winter hoodies.
Either way, and if you go on there and if something's out, which especially now, like I'm really narrowing down my whole process there. But if something's out of stock or whatever, there's a little thing on there. You just put your email in there. It's not a spam thing at all. In fact, a lot of people who sign up for our email list, which is another thing. I don't really send much. The point, and not that that's a good thing, but I'm saying,
sometimes I get contacted by these people with their advice about stuff. And I'm not trying to say I'm not being arrogant,
right?
But the people that talk to me about what is it? Building the
okay, about the podcast, like the brand. You should do more social media.
Yeah, no, they say one of the most valuable things you could do is get an email list. You need to get a big email list, then you can hammer them with stuff all the time, and you have them forever. And I'm like, bro, I'm not. We're not here to just hammer people with whatever messaging.
Yeah.
So, but you can sign up for it. The email list that you made, I mean, what I put out one thing or maybe two things on it. You put out maybe two things or three things. What you do? One thing you do that's good is you give. This is where it's beneficial. If you want something, you'll find out about it earlier, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And also you've done some polling. Hey, what color of this should we make? So
and that's really what it is. It's more like a direct line, for people who I care. If a new item comes out, something new on the store comes out, or something super relevant. I'm not gonna be hey, by the way, let me just send you this that you won't read, or I don't know. I don't use it to. I don't think it should be used ever, but so I don't use it to try to keep your attention on my website. It's not that. I figure I looked at it kind of I don't know, I forget if I heard someone say this or not, but it really made sense where, you know, when you sign up for an email list, right? So a marketer, a quote unquote marketer, will look at that and be like, okay, they just signed up to be marketed to, right? So every time I enter in my email for like, do you want updates? You know, they give you.
I never enter my email for those things,
which is kind of part of the point because you know I'm signing up right now
for
to be
spam.
marketed to. So people are gonna sign up. They say, okay, I want to be marketed to. I'm not going to like abuse. It's like I'm not going to instantly violate your trust by sending you
Should I send out an email to people?
If I just figure if you truly believe that like that's what they signed up for.
No. I'm saying, should I send out like an email of information or something to people?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Yes. So
that's what I should do.
If you think, okay, so think of me as like a person who's like, hey, yeah, I'll sign up for this email list. And so I put my email in there. And then, so now you're contemplating, should I send them an email? If you think that email legitimately is what I want to get from you when I put my email, then yeah, send that email. I don't even know what that is, so that's why I hardly send anything. I just figure, hey, if there's a new rash guard, especially when people on Twitter or Instagram, whatever, telling me, hey, do this for a rash guard, or hey, do this for a shirt, or when the hat's coming out, when the hoodie, when's the hoodie? I've been, waiting for the kids size small warrior
email,
kid.
So for instance, this is a good one. You will email when the new hoodies are available. Boom, you email everyone.
Yeah, and actually I did one better where I don't even have to email everybody because what if people are like, I already have a hoodie. So, and yet they're on the list, so I'll do you one better. On the hoodie, on the store, when you click on the hoodie, you select the size and it's out, you can just be like, boom, put your email right there. You'll only get emailed if the hoodie gets back in stock in your specific size. Otherwise, you don't get nothing. I'm not going to bother your inbox. Your inbox is sacred. Okay? Just because you gave me the key, it doesn't mean I show up every day.
Yeah.
Okay? So
we're cool like that.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
I think that's the way to go. So
the marketers, whoever's listening to this right now, that's like, you're missing out on so much opportunity.
Don't violate people's trust.
Yeah, we're not going to violate people's trust for opportunity. Good job.
Yeah, I guess that's one way of putting it right there. But yeah, it's good. JockoStore.com. If you check those things out. If you like something, get something. Good way to support. Also, psychological warfare. If you don't know what that is, we all know what that is. Should I even mention what it is?
Well, you should.
Might as well.
In case people don't know.
All right, it's an album, not a song album, not a rap album. What is it? It's an album with tracks. Jocko tracks. And these tracks, what they are is, obviously you listen to them audio tracks, right? iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Music, anywhere where they sell MP3s. So what they are is you put it in. When you're trying to get it, like you set a goal, you're trying to get after it, and you're having these moments of weakness. Diet, workout, getting up, staying disciplined, procrastination, all these points of weakness that you can encounter. There's a track for one of them. Boom, you listen to it, and it's kind of like Jocko at your fingertips in a way, where he's saying, you're like, hey, Jocko, okay, so I have this luxury. I can call you up and be like, hey, tonight I had a, stressful day, and I still got some work to do. I'm thinking of going to Vaughn's and getting some vodka. Tomorrow, I don't want to look back and be like, I wish I wouldn't have drank vodka. But right now, I really want to go get that vodka, and it's very powerful, and I think it'd do me some good, relieve some stress. I have the luxury of being able to call you up and be like, hey, boom, and then you can just explain to me pragmatically why I shouldn't do that. Thanks, Jocko. Boom, I don't get the vodka. A lot of people don't have that. You get psychological warfare, you do have that. You just put in the track. Boom. You'll wake up early every single time. If you're not feeling like waking up early, you'll wake up early. Same thing with workout, same thing with procrastination, all that stuff. Anyway, check them all out. See if you like it. Get one of those. 100% effectiveness. If you still slack after listening to this, I said this before, I'll say it again. There's a problem. I don't think you will, so there is no problem. There you go. Boom. That's a good one. Good support.
Right on. Also, you can get Jocko White tea on Amazon. Speaking of Amazon, you can get Jocko White tea. You should drink it if you want to deadlift more than 7,854 pounds, because that's what you will be able to do as soon as you drink your first sip. Guaranteed, 100%. Jocko White tea tastes good and makes you feel good, and it's good for you. So get that. Books. I got some books. One of them's called Way of the Warrior Kid. It's for kids, but I think we can all learn from it. I know I learned from it from good old Uncle Jake. Got a book called Extreme Ownership, which is a book about leadership, combat leadership, lessons learned. Also have a book called Discipline Equals Freedom Field Manual. Just came out October 17th. I'm going to read you a little excerpt. First excerpt coming from and the reason I'm reading this is a few weeks ago there was a mass shooting in Vegas. Horrible situation. And I talk about all kinds of different things in this book about my life, things I've learned, and one of the sections in here is called immediate action drills. Here we go. Back to the book. But we can't always avoid high threat areas, and sometimes the high threat area doesn't avoid us. In the world today, conflict and danger can occur at any time, anywhere. So it is important to maintain situational awareness at all times. Pay attention to your surroundings. Look at suspicious people. Look at unsuspicious people. What are they doing? Where are they going? What are they looking at? Assess. While you assess, think of contingencies. Where is your closest escape route? Where is the closest cover and concealment? Cover being a place to shield you from bullets, and concealment being a place to hide. If you are maintaining situational awareness, you should be very hard to surprise. If you sense something is going wrong or you sense a threat, proactively move away from it. Walk to the other side of the street. Accelerate your car. Walk out the door. Don't wait for things to get worse. If you do get surprised and are caught in a bad situation, act. If you can run away from an assailant, do it. If you can't run because they have a hold on you, attack them. Put all your training to use as quickly and as violently as possible. As soon as you can break free, do it and run. If shooting starts, get down. Call the police at the first opportunity. If the shooting is single shots being fired at a slower pace, run immediately and keep running. If the shooting is rapid fire, find some solid cover to get behind. Wait for a lull. When the lull comes, run. That may be your only chance. If you are trapped in a room with an active shooter outside, barricade yourself. If there is an ideal hiding place, hide. If not, prepare to attack them as soon as they enter the room. Get anyone in the room with you on board and ready to swarm the attacker. So those are some notes from where to start. And again, you can take training for those type of situations to a very high degree. But if you have no training, you need to know what to do in those situations. That's why I put that in there. I'll read this one more little section because I get asked this all the time. The beginning of the section, dealing with injuries and illness. What are you are going to get injured. You are going to get sick. Regardless of how careful you are in your training, how clean you eat, and how healthy you live, you are still human. Injuries and illness will occur. My theory for overcoming injuries and illness is simple. Do what you can. If you are sick or injured, don't use that as an excuse to skip workouts or stay in bed all day. Do what you can. Hurt your knee? Work your upper body. Work the good leg. Hurt your shoulder? Time to work on one-armed pull-ups and push-ups. Focus on your core and legs until your shoulder heals up. Tendinitis from using the grip too much? Sound like it's time to focus on sprinting and jumping plyometrics. Got a little cold? Flu? Same thing. Do what you can. Maybe it's just going for a walk, a couple sets of sit-ups and push-ups, but don't just stay in bed all day. So, go on to talk about some more of that. This book is called Discipline Equals Freedom. And if you want to help spread the word on this, go and buy from a local bookstore, like an independent bookstore, because when they sell these books, they report it in such a way that it helps the book get recognized by some of the bigger media outlets. And when it gets recognized by some of those big media outlets like the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, that helps spread the word even more. And I think that the word that's in this book should be spread because I think it's going to help a lot of people. And I think it's going to help them live better, healthier, and more productive lives. So you can get that book, Discipline Equals Freedom Field Manual. Also, for your business, we have Echelon Front Leadership Consulting. It's me, Leif Pabin, JP Donnell, Dave Burke. If you need our services to help you, your business, your team, your leadership, give us an email, info@echelonfront.com. And if you have questions or you have something you want to talk to us about here, you want to keep this little conversation going, you can still find us always on the interwebs. On Twitter, on Instagram, and on the Facebook. Echo is at Echo Charles, and I am at Jocko Willink. And finally, thank you to everyone for listening and supporting this podcast. We truly appreciate it. And for those of you in uniform, thanks for providing the blanket of freedom that allows this podcast to be possible. And for the first responders that protect us at home, that drive and run towards danger, thank you for keeping us safe. And to everyone else out there on your mission to succeed, to conquer, to get better, to win. Keep training. Keep fighting. Keep working and striving and grinding to do more than anyone thought you could, more than even you thought you could. Keep your eyes on the target, your head in the game, and keep on getting after it. So until next time, this is Echo and Jocko. Out.